tracing the trails of money and influence that once seemed untouchable. Each revelation chips away at the myth of invincibility that shielded the elite. The world begins to understand that Epstein's web wasn't built overnight. It was built on decades of access, trust, and fear. In offices once filled with laughter, whispers now echo. In courtrooms, survivors face questions they've answered 100 times, searching for recognition instead of pity. The investigations move slowly, layer by layer, like peeling the paint from a portrait to dark to see clearly. Every document unsealed, every testimony recorded, becomes another piece of a puzzle that no one wants to finish. As the years pass, new names rise in business, politics, and entertainment. The lesson of Epstein's empire lingers like smoke in a closed room, a warning about what happens when power forgets humanity. Some deny ever knowing him, some admit to crossing paths, yet all agree on one thing: the world will never look at privilege the same way again. The story of Jeffrey Epstein isn't frozen in 2019. It's alive in the calls for reform, in the questions still unanswered, in the determination of those who refuse to forget. Justice moves slowly, but memory never stops. The truth has a strange patience. It waits in evidence boxes, in courtroom archives, in the memories of those who lived through it. It waits for the next generation to ask, how could this happen? And who let it? Maybe that's why the Epstein files will never really close. Because this story isn't about one man, it's about all the walls that silence built, and the people who decided to tear them down. They said the story ended in 2019, but stories like this never really end. They echo through courts, through headlines, through the lives left behind. After Epstein's death, the world was left with questions and files, thousands of pages, depositions, flight records, bank transfers, each one another thread in a web that refused to die. Ghislaine Maxwell, the partner, the recruiter, the enabler. When she was arrested in 2020, the cameras returned, the headlines screamed again. For the first time, someone from inside the empire was facing justice in that courtroom. Survivors stood tall, no longer silenced by power. Their words carried the weight of years, decades, and finally, the world listened. But even with the verdict, there was no closure, because for every answer, new questions appeared. Documents revealed links, meetings, transactions, connections that stretched across oceans and industries. Some names were redacted, others were forgotten. Yet, every page hinted at something larger, something systemic. The media moved on, new scandals, new distractions. But the survivors didn't. They kept fighting through civil suits, through documentaries, through the slow grind of truth. Each case another step toward accountability. Behind closed doors, institutions scrambled to protect themselves. Companies distanced their brands. Politicians issued statements. Everyone claimed ignorance. But silence is its own confession. The system that built Epstein didn't collapse, it simply adapted, changed its face, found new ways to hide. Meanwhile, investigators traced money trails leading to offshore accounts and shell companies, billion-dollar trusts buried beneath legal smoke. Forensic accountants pieced together fragments of an empire meant to disappear. And the deeper they dug, the clearer it became. This wasn't just about one man. It was about the machinery of power itself. There were whispers of sealed indictments, of new witnesses coming forward. Each revelation sparked outrage, brief, loud, then forgotten. But truth doesn't need headlines to survive. It just needs to exist, waiting for the right moment to be heard. Again, the world began asking a new question. If one man could operate this long, with this much protection, what does that say about the world that allowed it? About the people who saw, who knew, and chose to look away? In the years since, the island stands empty, the mansion sold, the jet grounded. But the legacy remains a reminder that evil doesn't always hide in the dark. Sometimes it hides in plain sight. wearing suits, smiling for cameras, shaking hands with power. For the survivors, justice isn't measured in verdicts, it's measured in memory. Every story told, every name remembered, is a small victory against the silence. Because that's how darkness loses, not with revenge, but with truth. And as the files keep surfacing, as redacted names fade away, the world edges closer to understanding the full picture. It's not just an investigation anymore, it's a mirror reflecting how easily we trade morality for influence. This is not the end of the Epstein files, because the shadows haven't stopped moving. The truth hasn't finished speaking, and the silence still has secrets left to tell. This is the Epstein Files, Part 3: Aftermath of Silence.